Welcome to Naptown, where even the flies take naps. This quaint little town is nestled in the heart of nowhere, where time seems to stand still, and the hustle and bustle of city life is a distant memory. Naptown was small, very small, with a population that barely reaches triple digits. Everyone knows everyone, and the sense of community is strong. The main street is lined with charming old buildings, each with its own story to tell. Even the town name was tiny. The sign at the entrance is so small you might miss it if you blink. But that's just how the folks here like it, unassuming and peaceful. The police station was tiny too. It looks more like a quaint cottage than a place of law enforcement. But don't let its size fool you, it's the heart of the town's safety. It only had 2 policemen, Officer Snooze and Sergeant Sloth. They are the town's dynamic duo, though their pace is anything but dynamic.
I love to sleep. There's nothing quite like a good nap to recharge the batteries. In Naptown, we take our rest seriously.
Officer Snooze loved to sleep. He snored very loud. His snores could be heard echoing through the quiet streets, a familiar and oddly comforting sound to the townsfolk.
And I move like a snail. There's no rush in Naptown. We take life one slow step at a time, savoring each moment.
Sergeant Sloth was very slow. His deliberate movements were a testament to the town's laid-back lifestyle. He believed in doing things right, not fast. He moved like a snail. But in Naptown, that's just fine. Here, we embrace the slow life where even the flies take naps.
My donut, it's gone.
Shouted Officer Snooze. He looked sad.
Missing? That's strange.
Sergeant Sloth yawned.
This is a serious crime. We need to find those donuts.
Officer Snooze yelled.
Let's investigate after our nap.
Sergeant Sloth nodded slowly. The only clue was a tiny crumb. It smelled like sugar. This tiny piece of evidence was almost overlooked, but its sweet scent was unmistakable. It was the kind of smell that could only come from one place in town.
This smells like Mr. Kruler's donuts. The aroma was so familiar, it brought back memories of early morning patrols and the irresistible pull of freshly baked goods,
said Officer Snooze, his nose twitching with anticipation. He had been on the force for years, and he knew the scent of Mr. Kruler's donuts better than anyone.
Mr. Kruler's donuts are yummy. They were the talk of the town, a staple at every community event and a favorite among the officers.
Sergeant Sloth licked his lips. He could almost taste the sugary goodness, and his stomach growled in agreement. The thought of those donuts made his mouth water.
Did you see anyone steal donuts? Officer Snooze asked, his voice serious. The theft of donuts was no small matter in this town.
Officer Snooze asked Mr. Kruller, who was wiping his hands on his apron. The shop owner looked puzzled, as if he couldn't believe someone would steal from him.
Nope, Mr. Kruller replied, shaking his head. He hadn't seen anything unusual, but he was just as eager to get to the bottom of this mystery. But I saw a trail of sprinkles going that way. He pointed down the street, where a faint trail of colourful sprinkles could be seen leading away from the shop.
Mr. Kruller shook his head, a look of disappointment on his face. He couldn't understand why anyone would steal his donuts, but he was determined to find out.
Officer Snooze and Sergeant Sloth followed the sprinkles. They drove very slowly. This is hard work.
I need a nap.
Suddenly they saw something. It was a group of raccoons, and they were eating donuts. The raccoons were having a party, a donut party. There was music and dancing and lots of donuts.
Those are our donuts.
The raccoons stopped dancing. They stared at the police officers. The biggest raccoon grinned.
You want your donuts back?
Yes, those donuts are police property. You can't just take them.
The raccoon laughed heartily.
We made a trade, officer. We gave something shiny for these donuts. Shiny? What do you mean by shiny?
The raccoon pointed to Sergeant Sloth's shirt badge.
Your shiny thing, officer.
Sergeant Sloth looked down. His badge was gone. Panic set in as he realized the importance of the missing badge. It wasn't just a piece of metal. It was a symbol of his duty and honor. He retraced his steps, thinking about where he could have lost it. He must have lost it during his morning patrol. The streets were busy, and he had been distracted by a commotion near the bakery. He remembered the raccoons that often scavenged around the area. Could they have taken it?
Okay, how about we make a new trade? Sergeant Sloth approached the raccoons cautiously. Listen, I know you guys love shiny things. How about we make a deal? I'll give you some delicious donuts if you help me find my badge.
He offered the raccoons a new deal. Donuts for shiny things. The raccoons chattered among themselves, clearly intrigued by the offer. They had a reputation for being clever and resourceful, and the promise of donuts was too good to pass up. The raccoons loved shiny things. They quickly scattered, searching every nook and cranny for anything that might be of value. Buttons, bottle caps, and even old coins were brought to Sergeant Sloth in exchange for the sweet treats. The raccoons agreed. They traded donuts for shiny buttons and bottle caps. It was a win-win situation. The raccoons got their donuts, and Sergeant Sloth got a collection of shiny objects that might lead him to his badge. Everyone was happy, especially the police officers. The station was filled with laughter and the sweet smell of fresh donuts. It was a rare moment of joy in their otherwise stressful jobs. They had their donuts back. And as for Sergeant Sloth, he'd learned a valuable lesson about the importance of keeping track of his badge. The raccoons, now his unlikely allies, had proven to be quite helpful. The case was closed.